There were a few people who were in the film who weren't able to join us tonight. Sarah and Stacy, the twins, Sister Linda, they are out of state, and that's unfortunate. But we'll certainly share this with them when they get back. But we do have, from your left to right is Dawn Christensen, former executive director of the site and a parent camp lover as a young child. So, and actually, I'm gonna go bookends, and then we'll go this way. And on the far right is Barry McEwen, former executive director of the site center. And it has been such a thrill to get to know Ginny Place as a result of this project, and to more than anything to hear her laugh. She has one of the most infectious laughs, and I know there are some stories that you can't have a laugh like that if you don't have some armory stories to tell. So my first question to Ginny is, because Ginny worked for 30 years in the workshop, right? Over 30 years. Do you have any stories that you would like some funny stories that you would like to share?
Yes, I got maybe 3, possibly. Is this working? I don't know if it's working. I don't think it's working. Yeah, I think, maybe that's okay.
Hold it up close. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Okay, one of the first stories that I know that I can tell you is my nickname when I went to work was Twiggy. And the reason was that I was Twiggy was because I was very thin. And the other one is that they all in the workshop thought they were really smart and cute. They got a hold of a barrel. And I don't know if Barry remembers this or not. But they got a big round barrel. And they thought, oh, she's skinny enough. We're gonna put you in that barrel. I said, no, you're not gonna put me in there. Yes, we are. They stuck me in the barrel, and they rolled me down the center aisle. How come Dick Henry, the foreman, and he said, workers, what are you doing? Well, we thought she was skinny enough, we wanted to try. So then there's one more story, and it's, we had a lady named Berlin who made boxes like I did, and on the line. And she always kept saying, oh, just so cold. God, shut the windows. Well, they decided instead of doing that, they found a great big, huge, tall cardboard box. And they made 2 windows out of it, and they put it around her chair. And said, okay, Pearline, now you ought to stay warm enough, you got a house.
Thank you, Ginny.
You're welcome.
All right, the next question is for Barry, who served at the Site Center from 1978 to 1995. What were some of the biggest challenges or accomplishments during your tenure?
Well, first of all, Jenny, who do you think gave them the barrel?
The workers did.
No, I gave them the barrel.
Oh, I don't see, that's too low. I don't remember that one.
Right.
I don't remember that,
But, you know, I think any of the challenges for any of the directors over 100 years is feedback. Okay? We're getting better. All right. I think the biggest challenge probably was for funding, and everyone for 100 years, the funding was always the issue. I think as you look at the different programs, I think looking at the shelter workshop, that was a very strong, successful program for people. And then, as it was mentioned in the film, Lyle Kirk got us started with the rehabilitation concepts. We sent rosin snow to Little Rock, Arkansas, to Arkansas Enterprises for the blind to train to learn to be a mobility instructor. Then we got going with that. We then did the NAC accreditation, which set the stage for certain standards for services that would be provided to people. And then obviously, it was mentioned SCAN, was the Site Center Audio Network. We had over 800 volunteers involved in that. And then Dawn started a program for Braille transcription for people, for restaurants and different groups that did things. And obviously getting into low vision. So, over the years, there's just a number of things. We did, of course, a lot of screening for prevention of blindness with preschool children, glaucoma, the Lions did a lot of glaucoma testing. Some of you may be old enough to remember the glaucoma test that they would do in shopping malls and places with what was called the air puff tonometer. And you would sit down and suddenly get zapped in the face with a puff of air. And that was really, people really liked that one. So there's just a number of different opportunities and things to be able to do.
I'm not sure this one works, Don. I'll borrow that back from you, Barry.
Dawn, for you, I know you had some comments recently at the historical marker. You've had a long experience with the Site Center. So, what are some of the most memorable highlights of your experience with the Site Center as executive director, or anything in between? And I'm going to hand this to you.
Well, Camp Ukita was the first. You saw in the preview prior to the movie coming on, the Braille Sports Car Rally. I was just telling my son, who brought me this evening, the Braille Sports Car Rallies were really fun. The first year I participated, I was maybe 12 or 13 years old, and I came in third place. Very good with directions. The second year I participated, they were about to send the police out after us because we were 3 hours late coming back. So the recreational activities were really great. Again, I didn't have a lot of time with blind and visually impaired people, and so that was really, really helpful. As I got older and first started working at the Site Center, again, extremely valuable services. I started working there in part-time in 1979, and then came back in 81, and then came back again in 91. So total about 30 years. So what were some highlights? Well, I did say this at the dedication of the historical marker. I've done a lot. I've done a lot of advocacy, locally, statewide, nationally. I've done a ton of volunteer work, but probably one of the moments that meant the most to me was to sponsor the Braille and the audio, my hand's shaking, the Braille and the audio on the Site Center's historical marker. It's a piece of me that will be there forever, and this agency will be part of my life forever.
All right. We're going to ask Ginny this question. What was a typical day like in the workshop? Was there, I'm sure, a lot of friendships made?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of friendships. I don't know what you call it, difficult day, but I made like 10,000 boxes a day on a line that we did work for AP Parts. I also got into working with steel, And to this day, that's one of the reasons that I cannot read Braille that well, because I go home and I'd say, Dad, well, gotta work on my hands. And I think that I think was the most difficult actually part of working there, is that steel had to be picked out almost every night working in U-boats and sails.
Ginny, that was 10,000 boxes from 8 a.m.
Right, 8 a.m. to
2:30.
2:30, something like
Yes,
that, yeah.
With a lunch hour.
Yep, that was a lot of boxes.
Yeah, Ginny can crank them out, can't she? Barry, you've had a lot of years at the site center, 78 to 95, I believe it was, as executive director. How did the field of blindness rehab and low vision rehab change over those years, and how do you see it today?
All right, let me give a piece of trivia first. We're sitting here in the Maumee Indoor Theater, and one of our former board members, Bob Tilton, who was totally blind, and his business partner, Bob Heff, who was the former mayor of Napoleon and the designer of the 50-star American flag, used to own the Maumee Indoor Theater. And they owned a couple of the drive-ins and the Fremont theater as well. Well, over the years, I think one of the biggest things that I saw, I got involved in blindness work in 1968, and I worked for the state of Ohio Bureau of Services for the Blind. Many of the blind people at that time had been younger, they'd been blind from birth, or, you know, if you look out in the audience today, I doubt that there's anyone here who was blinded from rubella or measles, and yet that was one of the primary situations with younger people. It impacted, I think, probably hearing loss with people from rubella as well. With premature birth, they found out that just the oxygen in the air when people were born was too much oxygen to burn out the retinas in premature youth, infants. So that's changed. And as the time went on, and one of the reasons the workshop didn't do as well over the years is because there weren't a lot of young blind people coming up, because more blind people or people were being blinded because they were now over 50, 60. They had diabetes, they had macular degeneration, cataracts. I mean, I think Dr. Sachs was the first one who did an interocular cataract surgery here, probably maybe in the late 80s. So a lot of conditions today that are correctable, they weren't. There was, you know, a lot of changes just in the types of reasons people were being affected by vision loss.
I think we need to give him a big hand for the time that he was at the site center. Thank you. I gotta ask Dawn, what would this area have been like without this agency? Then, now, or in the future?
Well, as the show indicated, there was very little expectation of people who were blind or visually impaired back more than 100 years ago. The agency, again, social recreational, but then moved into rehabilitative services. That gave people hope, and it gave people in the community the ability to look at people who were blind differently, to know that they were valuable, they could work, they could play, they could be independent. So where we were more than 100 years ago, not so good. Where we were 50 years ago, moving in great directions. And I hope in some ways it's in the future, don't kill me, Timm, that we don't need the sight center. I mean, it would be a sad moment, but it would really be wonderful for people, whether they have cured all blindness and vision impairment, or that technology continues to a point that, less and less rehabilitative services are necessary. But truth be told, that's never going to happen. So in the meantime, let's hope and pray, donate, and love the Sight Center of Northwest Ohio.
When I started at the Sight Center, there were 8 other agencies similar to it throughout the state. And I really want to give credit to the people, the directors who came after me, John, Dawn, Stacy, Timm, because today I believe there are only 3 agencies like the Sight Center in the state of Ohio. So even though blindness is on the increase as people age, there are fewer resources available. So I think they have done a tremendous job, and we need to give them a round of thanks for keeping it going.
Thank you. And Barry alluded to a comment I wanted to make as well, that we have 2 former executive directors and the current executive director. We also are blessed to have Stacy Franks in the room. And Stacy, let's hear it for Stacy. Stacy spent almost 20 years with the Sight Center and was 8 or 9 as executive director. And she made the horrible mistake of hiring me back in a decade ago. So. And Stacy's now continuing to serve as our board chair. So there's something about this organization that keeps people coming back and keeps people coming around. So thank you, Stacy. We will be drawing a door prize before the end of the night. I don't know where that basket of names is, but if somebody could bring that up before, we'll at least announce that. And I think we'll maybe do one more question, and I'll pose this like kind of to Dawn and to Ginny, but Barry, absolutely feel free to weigh in if you want as well. What advice would you give to a young person who's blind today?
Well, first thing is called the Sight Center, of course. Second of all, and I know that Stacy and Sarah in the show would also say the same thing. Live life like you've never lived it before. Don't let your vision loss hold you back. Ride a bike, ride a horse, parasail with your grandchildren. I just did that a couple of years ago. Learn to cook, learn to bake, learn to do all that's available to you. And don't let your blindness or vision impairment stand in your way. Don't sit back. Don't let life pass you by. Embrace your vision loss. Be okay with it. Be okay with who you are. And learn, and live your life the best you can.
Okay, I would just like to say that with my family has always treated me like I am no different than anyone else. I live alone. I do my own cooking, somewhat, microwave, toaster oven. I do my own laundry. They do come and help me. I have a box con that my family records. So when their folks are gone, I can just go to the freezer and get my own meals. I would like to say also though, I think being blind is just a disability. It's not a handicap. I also think that for young blind people coming up, I think it's good that they get support groups if they can be in different groups of people, and, organizations in the city. If you call the site center, they will refer you to, several of them. There are 3 in the city.
I won't address that issue, but over 100 years, there is a couple other groups I think that need to be recognized. First, that is the staff who have worked for the organization over the years. Probably, literally, hundreds of people have served as social workers, mobility instructors, rehabilitation teachers, shop foremen, clerical staff. You couldn't do it without those individuals. And the other big group that really made it happen to begin with are board members. And, some people out there maybe have never been on a board. There's a lot of times there are organizations like the Site Center that need board members. So, board members are just really critical to what happens to make any nonprofit organization continue to exist. Without the earlier board members, we wouldn't be here 100 years later.
Thank you, and to add on to what Barry said, you saw it in the video, from the very founding of this organization, there were many important people and organizations that were part of that, but there's one organization that has stayed partners with our organization and with others like ours around the world, and that's the Lions Club. They adopted the Timm and there's quite a few here tonight. The Lions, for 100 years, have been the Knights for the Blind. They've taken blindness and vision loss on as a cause internationally, and they've been tremendous partners and continue to this day to be a good partner in the work that we do. We've got a drawing to make, but I do want to say that the documentary was called Beyond Sight. We chose that for a reason because there is something beyond sight. And there's also something beyond sight. And with part of this project that was really cool is we get all the raw footage of the interviews. As Nathan said, we packed a lot into 26 minutes of a film, and we had hours and hours of interviews. And so if you liked what you heard from Ginny, we're going to be putting out some more little smaller clips of Ginny and Dawn and Barry and the twins and Sister Linda and anybody else that we have footage for. We're going to, like we did with our 100th anniversary, we had 100 videos, just little video vignettes, 2-3 minutes, but there's some gems in there that didn't make the documentary, so stay tuned for that. We also could have told this story in 1,000 different ways with 1,000 different people, and this is the documentary that we have, and we want to celebrate that. We want to continue telling those stories and having those conversations, so we're also going to be launching a podcast sometime in 2026. It might be called Living Beyond Sight or something like that, but it's going to give us another opportunity to have conversations and to hear about the relationships and what the Site Center and its mission has meant to people over the years. And so stay tuned for that as well. I would like to thank Cliff Smithers for stepping up on stage with us tonight and kind of getting us kicked off and sharing some of his personal stories as well. Thank you, Cliff. And would you like to draw the winner? Because I won't be able to read it. And don't.
You have a smaller hand than I do. So you're going to leave it up to me to try to read a name.
Megan might be able to help you.
The last name is Jones, I know that. Milo Jones? Did I get that right?
Let's hear it again for Dawn and Ginny and Barry. And I want to thank all of you for coming in tonight as well. This was a very you enjoyed the evening. I'm going to turn it back over to Cliff for some final remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Collar. It's wouldn't have happened without you.
I think this was a great night. What do you think? You know, one thing that Barry said that struck me here just a few minutes ago, talking about the staff. I remember the first day that we walked into the Site Center with my mother, the word compassion. The compassion from the staff was absolutely amazing. And I can't say enough great things about the Site Center here in Northwest Ohio. And if you get a chance, please stop by the Site Center and see the marker. I have not yet seen that yet, but I certainly want to do that. But by all means, make it a point to stop by and check that out, all right? Thank you for coming. We appreciate each and every one of you that are here tonight and coming out and giving your time to be here. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.